A while back I was curious to see if there were any good videos on the subject of women philosophers here on YouTube. So I did this search. You'll look at the screen capture. If you do, you'll see I put in women philosophy. It works for woman philosopher, women philosophy, any of those search terms. And this is the first thing you come up with. It is a scene from American Psycho, and it's a very short video. There'll be a link to it in the low bar, and it's pretty interesting about the way women are portrayed in this short excerpt. There are, so far as I can tell, no videos about women in philosophy, and if this is the closest we get, there might be a problem. I also did a search to see who the top 10 philosophers were considered to be in polls, that kind of thing. And I found this interesting poll from 2005, which was done here in the United Kingdom by a radio station, BBC Radio 4. And here are the results of that survey. The poll was done in the United Kingdom, so there might be a bias, slight bias at least, towards analytic philosophy, for the reasons that it's taught more at the universities here than it is in perhaps other parts of the world. Taking that into consideration, here's a fast rundown of the list as a result of the poll. 10th place was Karl Popper with 4.2%. Next, Aristotle, 4.52%. Socrates, 4.82%. Next, St. Thomas Aquinas, 4.83%. 6th place, Immanuel Kant, 5.61%. 5th place, Plato, 5.65%. 4th place, Friedrich Nietzsche, 6.49%. 3rd place, Ludwig Wittgenstein, 6.80%. 2nd place, David Hume, 12.67%. And 1st place was Karl Marx, 27.93%. I'm not presenting this list to give any kind of insight into the makeup of the list for these particular purposes, except to say that, in case you didn't notice, they were all men. In fact, the top 20 in this poll were men, top 20 philosophers. In an attempt to counteract this perhaps gender bias, perhaps it's just realistic, who knows, Camille Paglia was asked to make up a list of her own of 10 women philosophers, 10 great women philosophers, and she did so. I have some problems with some of her choices, and there's a, if you want to know what her choices were, there was a link to the article, and some of them I agree with completely. Hypatia, for example, would have to be on any list. Simone de Beauvoir would have to be on any list. Some of the others, I don't know why she chose the ones that she did. The most interesting parts of the article are concerned with what she says generally about philosophy itself. Here is a very short excerpt. The term philosophy is passé and should be abandoned. The thinkers of modern times should be partly abstract and partly practical. Then she goes on later in the essay or the article to say, it has become tiresome to constantly blame every blip in women's lives on sexism and discrimination by men. Today's lack of major female philosophers is not due to a lack of talent, but to the collapse of philosophy. Philosophy as traditionally practiced may be a dead genre. This is the age of the internet, in which we are constantly flooded by information in fragments. Each person at the computer is embarked on a quest for and fabrication of his or her personal identity. The web mimics human neurology, and it is fundamentally altering young people's brains. The web, for good or ill, is instantaneous. Philosophy belongs to a vanished age of much slower and rhetorical formal inquiry. As usual, I know what I think about what Paglia said, and I want to know what you think. So I have asked 3 questions as usual, and if you have time and the inclination, I hope that you'll answer them to give me some sort of insight into generally what you're thinking about what the internet is doing to our culture, to our consciousnesses, and to how we see ourselves, to our personal identity. So here are the 3 questions.